in the glittering expanse of the Seattle waterfront pavilion, where the elite of the tech world gathered under crystal chandeliers that mimicked the city's rainy night sky. My father lifted his champagne flute high. "To my son, the rightful heir to Hargrove Tech," he declared, his voice booming with that unshakable authority honed from decades of Silicon Valley deals. The room erupted in applause, suits and gowns clinking glasses in unison. Then, with a smirk that cut deeper than any boardroom betrayal, he turned his gaze to me. "And to my daughter, well, she's got that nurturing spirit. Starbucks is always hiring baristas, right?" Laughter rippled through the crowd like poison spreading in a vein. Not everyone joined in, some averted their eyes, uncomfortable with the casual cruelty. But enough did. Enough to make me, Emily Hargrove, 35 and fading into the wallpaper of my own family, feel the weight of years of silence crush down harder. I stood there in my understated gray dress, clutching a glass I hadn't sipped from, my face a practiced mask of composure, the one I'd worn through endless nights of my mother's suffering. No one saw the storm building inside me. No one except Mr. Whitaker, the family attorney, who sat motionless at a side table, his sharp eyes meeting mine with a subtle nod that whispered, "Wait." That night, as the party swirled on with talks of venture capital and yacht clubs in the San Juans, I slipped away early, the echo of that laughter chasing me into the damp Seattle streets. Driving home through the perpetual drizzle, the Space Needles glow mocking me from afar. Memories clawed their way back, each one a fresh wound. I'd been thriving in San Francisco 3 years ago, running my own digital marketing agency, small but fierce, with clients from startups to Fortune 500s. Late nights coding campaigns, early mornings pitching ideas that turned heads. Then the call came at midnight, shattering everything. "It's pancreatic cancer. Advanced." My mother's voice trembled over the line. "They say." Not long. I didn't hesitate. Sold the agency at a loss. Sublet my loft. Ended things with Alex over a tear-streaked video call. Family first, I'd told him, even as he begged me to think twice. Back in Seattle, I moved into the guest room of our family home in Bellevue, transforming it into a makeshift hospice. Days blurred into a rhythm of morphine doses, doctor visits to Harborview Medical Center, and holding her frail hand as chemo ravaged what was left of her. My brother Michael saw it differently. "Why not just get in home care? We've got the insurance for it," he'd said during our first tense family meeting in Dad's mahogany-paneled study, his wife Sophia scrolling Instagram beside him, her diamond ring catching the light. Dad, Thomas Hargrove, barely glanced up from his laptop, where stock tickers for Hargrove Tech flashed endlessly. Emily's got time on her hands. Her little venture fizzled out anyway. Fizzled out? I'd built it from nothing. But to them, it was a hobby, not a legacy. So I stayed silent, swallowing the bitterness like the bitter herbal teas I brewed for Mom. The months dragged on, each one stripping away more of her, Elizabeth Hargrove, the woman who'd once commanded quiet respect in Seattle's charity circles, reduced to whispers and winces. Michael visited sporadically, always with a photographer in tow for his LinkedIn posts, supporting family through tough times leadership. Sophia came once, complaining about the hospital smell before excusing herself for a Pilates class. Dad managed bi-weekly check-ins, treating Mom's updates like quarterly reports, pain levels, prognosis, any changes in assets, detached, efficient, as if love were a line item. But in the quiet hours, when the house slept and pain kept her awake, Mom and I shared the raw truth. "They don't see you, Emily," she'd murmur, her hand cold in mine. "But I do. You've given up everything, your life, your dreams for this. One day, they'll have no choice but to acknowledge it." Her eyes, still sharp despite the haze of meds, held a secret fire. Promise me you'll fight when the time comes. I nodded, thinking she meant emotional battles, not the war that was brewing. She passed on a rainy Tuesday, the kind Seattle knows too well. The funeral at Lakeview Cemetery was a Hargrove spectacle, catered by top chefs. Eulogies praising her as the perfect support system for Dad's empire. Michael spoke of her unwavering grace, Dad of her role in our success. No one mentioned the daughter who'd learned to administer IVs, who'd fought insurance claims at 2 a.m., who'd become an expert in end-of-life care under Washington's death with dignity laws. I was a footnote, if that. Overheard at the reception, Uncle Robert telling his golf buddies, "Thank God for Michael, he's the rock holding this together." I excused myself to the bathroom, gripping the sink until my knuckles whitened, the laughter outside blending with the roar in my ears. A year later, sorting through Mom's belongings in a climate-controlled storage unit in Redmond, Dad had wanted it all junked. No point dwelling, I found it, tucked behind faded photo albums. A cherrywood box engraved with her initials. Yay. Inside, folders crisp and organized, like her mind had always been. Bank statements first, hidden accounts in her maiden name. Elizabeth Arden. Investments in tech stocks. Property deeds for commercial spaces leased to Hargrove Tech. Then the shares certificates showing she owned 55% of the company. My heart hammered. Dad always boasted he'd bootstrapped it alone from a Bellevue garage in the 90s. But here was proof. Mom's family trust had seeded the initial capital, her strategic buys building majority control over decades. The final folder? Original incorporation papers, listing her as co-founder with veto rights. At the bottom, a sealed envelope for Emily. When the shadows lift. Trust Mr. Whitaker. I sat there in the fluorescent hum, piecing it together. Every press release crediting Dad as the visionary. Every board vote where he'd overridden dissent. Every time Michael paraded as the heir apparent, it was all built on her silence. Her choice to let them shine while she pulled strings from the background. Mr. Whitaker's office in downtown Seattle smelled of aged leather and espresso. He poured me a cup, his lined face betraying nothing. Your mother was a strategist. Emily. She came to me a decade ago, foreseeing this. The joint will your father pushed left you crumbs, a trust fund barely covering rent. But hers supersedes it all. He slid over the document. She leaves everything shares, properties, voting rights to you. With one caveat, reveal it at the peak of their arrogance. When dismissal turns public. I traced her signature. Steady and sure. The retirement gala. He nodded. She knew your father's ego would demand a spectacle. Michael's ambition a coronation. This is her endgame. They'll contest it. His smile was thin. Let them. Every clause is ironclad, witnessed by federal notaries. Her oncologist's affidavits on mental competency. She played the long game. Emily. For you. Leaving his office. The Seattle mist felt like absolution. Mom hadn't just endured their blindness, she'd weaponized it. But the cost? 2 years of my life erased. Relationships shattered. Self-doubt festering like an untreated wound. Was visibility worth the scars? The week before the gala was a pressure cooker. Each day tightening the vice. Mr. Whitaker and I met in hidden spots, a coffee shop in Pioneer Square. A park bench overlooking Elliott Bay, reviewing contingencies. She's covered every angle, he said. Flipping through depositions. Even hired private investigators to document Michael's absences during her illness, 7 visits total. Most under an hour. I stared at the photos, him on calls during hospice. Sophia checking her watch. Why not tell me sooner? Whitaker sighed. She wanted you to earn it through pain. To understand the betrayal's depth. Revenge without suffering lacks bite. At home, the calls came. Michael, family briefing at Dad's. 5 p.m. Sharp. Don't flake. The meeting was them plotting the transition, Dad as chairman emeritus, Michael as CEO, Sophia gushing over invites. Emily. Just show up and smile, Dad barked. No drama. Sophia smirked. Yeah. Skip the barista jokes this time, tacky. Their laughter ignited something primal in me. A slow-burning rage that whispered. Soon. I prepared meticulously, a crimson power suit from Mom's closet. The one she'd worn to close her first big deal. Hair sleek. Makeup armor. Whitaker texted, security in place, ex-Marines. Media briefed anonymously. Dad had invited tech reporters from GeekWire and CNBC. Hungry for his legacy story. They'd get one. All right. The gala arrived like a storm front. I entered the pavilion. Chin high. The suit hugging me like a second skin. Michael did a double take. You clean up. Different. Sophia's eyes narrowed. Isn't that Elizabeth's old thing? She had impeccable taste, I replied. Voice velvet over steel. The air crackled with unspoken tension. Dinner passed in a haze, filet mignon I couldn't taste. Small talk I navigated like landmines. Dad's speech was pure theater, from garage startup to NASDAQ darling. Hargrove Tech is my blood. Then the handover to Michael. My son. The future. Applause thundered. Michael's acceptance, humble brags. Thanks to everyone but Mom. As glasses raised. Mr. Whitaker rose. Briefcase in hand. Striding to the stage. Security flanked him subtly. A legal matter demands attention, he announced. Mike lived despite the coordinator's frantic signals. Dad's face twisted. Whitaker. Sit down. But the room hushed. As counsel to Elizabeth Arden Hargrove, I must disclose her will, all assets, including 55% of Hargrove Tech. To her daughter, Emily. Chaos erupted, gasps, dropped glasses, flashes from reporters' phones. Dad lunged, security blocked. Lies, Michael shouted. Whitaker held up originals, co-founder docs. Shares bought with her inheritance. Executed pre-diagnosis. Competency certified. He dropped the bomb, while Emily sacrificed her career for care. Michael visited 7 times, mostly for photos. The room turned on them. Murmurs swelling to outrage. I stood. Every eye locking on me. Mom saw what you refused to. Then I walked out. The pavilion's doors swinging shut on their crumbling empire. The drive home was silence, punctuated by phone vibrations. Dad. Michael. Reporters. I ignored them. Pouring Mom's favorite Cabernet in her sunroom. The city lights twinkling like distant judgments. Whitaker texted, media has copies. Bored in panic. Morning brought the horde, news vans on my lawn. Questions shouted through the gate. Comment on the wall bombshell? I brewed coffee. Watching from afar. Michael's TV interview, she manipulated a sick woman while I built the company. But clips surfaced, hospice nurses vouching for me. Emily was there every day, he barely showed. The narrative flipped, unsung heroine takes reins in the Seattle Times. Dad barged in that afternoon. Key still in hand. This ends now. You can't run a tech firm. I met his eyes from Mom's desk. Her trust funded it all, prenup protected. I own it. He blustered. Left fuming. Legal salvos followed, suits claiming fraud. All dismissed by Judge Ramirez, who knew Mom's charity work. Bulletproof, she ruled. Michael's internal sabotage, a staff meeting smearing me as unfit, backfired when Mom's old admin, Carla Ruiz, stood. Elizabeth ran this shadow empire. Emily's her echo. Employees rallied. Clients called, we trusted your mom, now you. Michael's last plea at my door, I'm your brother, give me something. You gave Mom nothing, I said, closing it. He resigned. At the board vote, my control solidified. I rebranded Arden Innovations, promoting overlooked talent, focusing on ethical AI. Profits soared, culture healed. Dad retreated to his Whidbey Island estate, alone after his young girlfriend bailed. Michael entered rehab for stress. 6 months on. In the lobby under the new sign, a package arrived from a nurse, Mom's journal. Entries spanning years. Building power in silence for Emily, she'll need it when they blind themselves. Her final words, kindness isn't weakness, it's the blade that cuts deepest. Tears fell as I realized the price, my isolation. Their downfall. A family fractured forever. But in the light of her legacy, I was seen, not as victim, but victor. The rain outside whispered her approval, and I whispered back, worth every shadow.